Am I bright enough? Am I bright enough for you?
I think so.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Living Dead Reviews, and we're going to do the Killer Flicks tag. I wasn't tagged because nobody likes me. I'm sad now. I'm going to have to start taking something for my depression. No, but seriously. I'm part of this group called Killer Flicks. I'm thinking about starting a YouTube channel, and I figure what better way to start it than with a Killer Flicks tag video. That way you can get to know me on a personal level. Sorta. Anyway, there's 14 questions posted by the members of Killer Flicks, and if you don't know what Killer Flicks is, then you've probably never been on YouTube before, because Cody Leach and Lee from Drum Dums are two of the biggest YouTubers on the platform, and Lee is also the proprietor of Killer Flicks. So they got this tag going where everybody answers 14 questions posted by the members, like I said. And we're going to get going with this. What was the favorite... See, I'm going to edit this out later. Actually, I'm not. I'm just going to reshoot the whole fucking thing because I don't like editing. Because I got fat fingers and I'm using my cell phone. You should see my setup. It's sitting on my box set stand with 2 coffee mugs holding my fucking phone up because I don't have a fucking tripod. What was your favorite vampire in a Killer Flick? Now, my first initial thought is to go to Kristen Dunst from Interview with the Vampire, because for being a child actor and being so young, there was no reason for her performance to be as masterful as it was. But then when you think about it, she hasn't really been that good in anything since. Sure, she was okay as Mary Jane Watson. She was okay in Jumanji, but what else has she even been in other than maybe The Virgin Suicides? But then I got to thinking, and I'm going to have to say it's a tie between the girl from Let the Right One In and my girl Chloe Grace Moretz from Let Me In. Because both of them are also child actors, and they both give masterful performances. Anyway, moving on to the second question. What was the very first Killer Flick that opened your eyes to the world of horror? Now, I'm having a hard time with this one because I remember being like 5 years old, because we still had the old 70s couches and the old ugly TV that had a record player on one side and an 8-track player on the other side. And I'm pretty sure it was Hellraiser, because I remember, I think it was Frank looking out the blinds watching, oh my God, Julia, thank you, bring the victims in for Frank. And if it wasn't that, it was definitely A Nightmare on Elm Street, because I just remember the opening scene and it scared me because I was scared as a child. So it's either Hellraiser or A Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay. Number 3, what is a really good standout geographical setting for a Killer Flick? I'm going to have to go and agree with Tyler Tompkins from Tyler Tompkins. He said the catacombs from As Above, So Below, which I believe is one of the scariest settings, because even without the horror of the movie happening, that's just a scary place to be. Second, going to The Descent. Actually, maybe The Descent, because I was terrified watching that movie before the monsters even showed up. But then again, I was also terrified in As Above, So Below before crazy shit started happening. Also, the haunted house I work at built catacombs, and it's one of the scariest rooms in the house when there's no actors in it, because the actors kind of... Thank you so much. Luckily, this is just a rough draft.
That's why I didn't care.
Women. Number 4. What Killer Flick would you be embarrassed to say that you love? Now that's a tough one. But I guess if I had to pick one, it would be either Freddy's Dead or Jason Takes Manhattan, because apparently I'm one of the only people that loves these movies. Cody Leach hates Freddy's Dead, and I don't know why. I want to sit down and have a discussion with him about it, or maybe watch it with him so I can point out all the hilarious, antics that Freddy gets up to. I mean, I know he likes the more scary, visceral Freddy, but this Freddy was on point. I do agree that the makeup was shit, and the ending really kind of, He sticks some dynamite in his chest and his face blows up into a 3D bullshit fest. Whatever. Anyway, number 5. There are a lot of killer flicks based on true events. Do you have a favorite? How accurate do you think it is? And it's not necessarily a horror movie, but there's definitely a lot of killing going on. And I'm going to have to say Monster with Charlize Theron and Christina Ricci. And I'm pretty sure it's about 80% accurate because I'm just pretty sure it's 80% accurate. I haven't seen the documentary. I'm not really big on documentaries unless they are about horror movies like, you know, Going to Pieces, The Rise and Fall of the Slasher, Horror in Red, White, and Blue, the 2 that were on Netflix a while back about Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, but there I am going off track. Look, I wrote the questions down because I can't read them off my phone when I'm using my phone to film. Okay? Can't do it. How's my hair, by the way? Am I sexy? Thank you. Number 6. What director would you like to see do a crossover of the genres and make a killer flick? Now, for the longest time, me and Chad Ashbrook, I could have swore Robert Zemeckis made The Frighteners, but, you know, turns out it was Peter Jackson, so I would have said that. But Peter Jackson started out with horror movies. He did Dead Alive, and he did Bad Taste, which is a fucked up, weird-ass movie. If you haven't seen it, I, sort of recommend it, but, it might not be your cup of tea. But I'm going to say Robert Zemeckis because he's probably one of my favorite directors. Forrest Gump is the greatest movie ever made, and anybody that disagrees with that is wrong. Sorry. All right, number 7. What killer flick was the toughest to watch? Well, see, this one might not be. It's a horror, definitely a horror of a movie. But it might not be considered a horror movie. And that's Irreversible, or how are they saying it?
Irreversibly.
Irreversible. Watch Mojo was saying it funny the other day. But it's called Irreversible. It's a French film, and it plays completely in reverse. And it has some really tricky camera angles that are meant to make you unsettled. And the very first scene starts out with the director's previous movie, and then it goes in to the shit. Like, this shit is intense. It's a gay club called The Rectum, and a guy's looking for a person that was involved with the rape of his fiancée. And let's just say there's a fire extinguisher scene that I'm pretty sure is real. They really killed a guy to make this movie, and I don't know how they're not all in jail. Like, you think fucking Cannibal Holocaust was bad? Watch Irreversible and then tell me that shit don't look real. Number 8. Who's your favorite final girl who isn't Jamie Lee Curtis? Well, Jamie Lee Curtis isn't my favorite final girl. Oh, they're down there. You probably can't see them. I am a Halloween fan, but, I always say that Halloween 3 is my second favorite, but that's bullshit. Halloween 3 is my first favorite. But anyway, my favorite final girl, obviously, it's going to be Nancy Thompson. Heather Langenkamp is the best thing that's ever happened to any horror movie, and she's not hardly enough. As far as the first one, the third one, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I'm not even sure I remember her being in any horror movies. I haven't really looked up her filmography on IMDb. I should probably do that because Nancy Thompson. Smoking hot. All right, anyway. Which killer flick has scarred you for life? All right, well, I don't know if it's a killer flick, but it's in my horror section, and I've never watched it. But it scarred me for life because I'm too afraid to watch it, and the more I think about it, the more sick I get thinking about it. And that's a Serbian film. Maybe you guys that have seen it, you can chime in and let me know if I should watch it. My fiance watched it, and she told me she doesn't think I'm going to like it, even though I made her watch Irreversible, and I left her in the room by herself during the 13-minute long rape scene. Because that's the kind of guy I am. Number 10. What killer flick has the most killer soundtrack? That's the fucking easiest question on this answer. Freddy's Dead. Have you ever actually watched Freddy's Dead and listened to the fucking music? The Goo Goo Dolls have one of their best fucking songs ever, and then you got fucking Why Was I Born, or whatever the fuck it's called, at the end credit scene by Billy Idol. Why was I born? Born in this world. Yeah, it's really good. I like it. And then there's that one song. I have been dreaming, but I don't understand. I can't sing really good sometimes, but sometimes I can sing really good, so kiss my ass. Number 11. What is the single greatest kill in a killer flick? Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm probably going to say the sleeping bag kill from Friday the 13th, Part 7. But I can't. It's been said too many times before. Nobody ever, and this is fucked up if you ask me, because I've watched all these killer flick tags for the most part. And I haven't seen anybody mention, and I wish I was good at editing. I wish I had a laptop, because I would show you the scene right now. It's the scene in the first Nightmare on Elm Street when Johnny Depp gets sucked into the bed and the blood just squirts out everywhere. And it's one of the most iconic fucking scenes in any fucking movie ever. Shut the fuck up. You should see this person over here. Anyway, and it's amazing the way that they did the scene, that they built a room and put it on a, what do you call that? A rotatable room. Turned that sumbitch upside down and then just poured the blood through the hole in the wall. Which leads me to the second best kill in a killer flick, Tina's death. Exact same concept of how they filmed that, with her rolling across the ceiling. You've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, you don't belong in killer flick. Oh, Leo get mad at me for saying that. See, hopefully I could do this the second time on my second take with this much enthusiasm. Or I could just say, fuck it, and this will be my take that I use. Because, you know, everybody else's video was like 10 fucking minutes. How long have I been sitting here bullshitting for?
12.
12 minutes? I'm almost done, people. What do you think is the greatest performance in a killer flick? Well, that kind of goes back to the vampire question, doesn't it? But,
Memento.
That's not a killer flick.
Fuck you then.
Son of a bitch. You know what? We're just going to say Ben from Night of the Living Dead. Because that man was the first black man to fucking star in a horror movie. And it caused a lot of controversy because people are racist. Well, should I say that?
No.
I'll cut that out maybe. But no. His performance was believable, and he was pretty much the best actor in the movie. And then I got to throw out a shout out to my boy Tony Todd, because he portrayed Ben masterfully. I'm going to keep saying that, masterfully, because it makes me sound like I'm smarter than I really am. What killer flick horror location would you like to visit? That's number 13. And I'm going to go with the Monroeville Mall. The Monroeville Mall, because I can also purchase some Levi jeans while I'm there. And I hear that it looks nothing like it did in the movie, but there is a small section where they sell Dawn of the Dead memorabilia. And you can't see, but I got Dawn of the Dead lunchbox, I got Dawn of the Dead tattoo, I got, you know, because while I'm there, I might as well go to Evans City Cemetery, right? Number 14. Are there any killer I can't read. Anyway, get ready to stop this video when I'm done. Are there any killers from a killer flick that you sympathize with? And everybody keeps saying all these blah, 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 blah. Jason Voorhees. That boy did not deserve to be picked on and then thrown into the lake and then drowned because he was deformed and the counselors were off making it. You know, if that happened to me, I'd kill everybody I fucking met too. Stay out of the fucking woods. Don't be smoking weed. And don't be having premarital sex. Otherwise, your ass might end up in a sleeping bag, getting swung up against a tree, and you'll probably deserve it. Okay? Okay?